both Frost and Johnson almost seemingly, literally, I think it was like 100 days. In fact, it might be even less than that. After 100 days of their trade agreement, the deal to end all deals, the oven-ready deal, the deal that was absolutely so fantastic, Boris Johnson told MPs they didn't even have to read it. It was that good. We are now seeing that deal essentially become heavily unraveled. So the question, of course, is why? Well, this is because essentially Northern Ireland is being effectively kept in the single market and customs union. And when you look at, shall we say, the numbers, the pure economic numbers of this, as I've said before, Brexit, it's really all about the economy. You look at Northern Ireland, Northern Irish businesses, you compare them to any other similar businesses here in the rest of the UK, seemingly they're doing far better. Their order books are full compared to orders here in the UK that are either being cancelled completely last minute or aren't even being able to be delivered the final product on time because of not only delays, shortages, and not only just because of the haulage crisis or like the coronavirus that has sort of damaged like supply chains, but because of Brexit as well. And we've said before that the Brexiteers would always attempt to try and sweep a lot of the damage under the rug of the coronavirus, but sooner or later, that rug, and it is starting now, to get quite bumpy. So they are now saying, well, we cannot have a situation where Northern Irish businesses are flourishing compared to their, should we say, the rest of their UK counterparts, because they're in effectively the single market and customs union, where we aren't. But hold on a second, didn't we promise that we would not leave the single market? After all, only a fool would leave the single market. And so we have seen the threats of triggering Article 16 being thrown about by Frost and Boris because, well, they want once again to appear tough, and like they're standing up to, of course, the evil EU. And of course, it's essentially quickly becoming Brexit 2.0, because that's all Boris has. All his promises have basically come to naught. Even the idea of getting Brexit done is anything but done. So today we turn to the Irish Examiner to get their take on what would happen if Johnson and Frost are foolish enough to actually decide to trigger a trade war. One, by the way, which America has firmly said it would be on the side of the EU. So before we do jump into that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So let's jump into this then, shall we? So, like I say, this comes from the Irish Examiner with the title, The Trade War Warning for Britain. Targeting Moroccan, I think that's how you say it, Moroccan chicken is the same as targeting a Tyrone chicken. Britain will very likely target specific Irish food and agricultural products and then disrupt trucks at Holyhead in Wales for exporters trying to access the continent in any long drawn-out tit-for-tat trade war, Irish experts have warned. Edgar Morgan, the professor of economics at the BCU Business School, said that Britain will be looking to target products from ports from the Republic of Ireland under any of the collapse of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, or the TCA, and that the UK and the EU literally just signed less than 11 months ago. Yeah, we are still less than, the first year of Brexit, and it's already falling to pieces. However, Mr. Morgan said that any tit-for-tat tactics used by London against specific food or goods from the Republic would very likely backfire, because the UK does not understand the nature of the all-island supply chains that bind the products from the north and south. He said that Britain would favour or try to favour a long drawn-out trade war, similar to now how to resolve the disputes between the US and the EU under the Trump administration. And they said that instead products such as the Kerrygold butter, French wine, and bourbon. He also believed that Britain would not risk a tit for tat trade war before Christmas because it would inevitably lead to more significant and unacceptable shortages on the shelves of the British supermarkets. So, the economist Jim Powder said that Britain targeting specific products would likely backfire on the London government because the goods of the North would also be affected because of the very complex and deep supply logistical chains across the island in many of their products. Targeting Morgan chicken is the same as targeting a Tyrone chicken, said Mr. Power, and adding that any targeting by Britain would have the same effects of a trade war on goods in the North. Northern Ireland has currently the best of both worlds, he said. That is demonstrated by the North and South trade so quickly growing since the end of last year. The trade war makes absolutely no sense whatsoever in economic terms for Britain, he said. Unfortunately for Ireland's economy, once a hostage to the British economic cycle and sterling, we are now a hostage to the cycle of the toxic British politics, he said. Adrian Flynn, the general manager of the Freight Transport Association for Ireland of Holyhead, said he will likely be at the front line should Britain target any Irish goods because it serves as a major land bridge and ports for exports from Ireland travelling to truck bound down to the Channel ports. Any sudden general blockage would surely have a direct impact on the British supply chain and foods in British supermarkets overnight. And he suspects that he expects that Britain would attempt to try to target any certain consignments only in a trade war. Mr. Flynn said that it was not in Irish interests for the EU to retaliate hugely should the TCA break down. The Trade and Cooperation Agreement was signed at the 11th hour in December to try and prevent the hardest of all Brexit outcomes and was, as the name suggests, supposed to be developed by both blocs, he said. So, yeah, this just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And we've heard this all throughout this year. And why are the people of the DUP getting so angry? Partly because they saw the numbers, and as was said there, the springing up between the supply between the north and south of Ireland. The fact that they are now fearing essentially being more dependent on the Southern Republic Irish economy than they are the Northern Irish, than they are, shall we say, the rest of the UK economy, because they have the best of both worlds. They are in the single market. Businesses there are flourishing, where our businesses are having to pay hundreds of millions of extra pounds just to send stuff to the continent, where at one time it cost them nothing. This is costing them contracts. It is costing them jobs. No company in the UK is happy with the current Brexit agreement. Hence why the whole thing of Keir Starmer coming out and say, let's make Brexit work, may not actually be that bad a tactic. But of course, we've actually got to see what he means by, quote, make Brexit work. Because here's the thing, Starmer could legitimately come out and say, okay, we're going to make Brexit work. We're just going to put the UK back in the customs union and single market. To which any criticism, he could come out and say, I'm just following the will of the people. He could literally turn that line back on Boris Johnson. Because remember, Boris Johnson and many of the Brexiteers all said that voting for leave would mean that Britain would remain in the single market and customs union. That was explicitly not only on the Vote Leave website, it was in all their literature. They had numerous video evidence of high Vote Leave officials saying that that was the case, that when you voted for leave, you were going to stay in the single market and customs union. So any attempt to put Britain back into the single market and customs union is not a betrayal. It is fulfilling the will of the people. So, as always, we're going to have to watch to see how the situation develops. But I think there's going to be yet more saber rattling coming down the pipe this week, with lots more threats that aren't really going to lead to anything. Because if, should we say, Johnson does decide to trigger Article 16 to look tough, this is only going to massively hurt him and the rest of the UK economically. There is no, the EU basically wins in this trade war almost instantly. And there's no going to be help from America or anything like that, because they have basically come out and said we are in favor of the EU and the fact that you have the TCA, which again guarantees peace in Northern Ireland. Boris has absolutely no allies whatsoever in this fight. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can always, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see